Hey everybody, welcome back to the next episode of Sentences That Sell, a retrospective look on the sales process, your go-to podcast on modern day selling and how to navigate the complex, ever-changing business environment. My name's Sino, Peter Sinodinos, and I look forward to spending some more time with you on the great sales topics that I've been talking about from a wonderful book called Sentences That Sell for Commissioned Salespeople. It's a very small book from Brushes Holding Limited, Training and Development Division, the auspices of David Panther, who's a great sales trainer for the business. And today I want to introduce you to one of my favourite components. When I saw this, it really tickled my fancy. It was closing the sale. Now, closing a sale is both an art and a science, and really today I'm going to cover a variety of closing techniques that are really featured in this book. Because I think if there's one section that really there's two sections in this book, but if there's one section that really puts, rocket fuel in your petrol tank, like I talked about in my first introductory discussion about this book, it's this closing the sale, because it really allows you to apply different types of closes to different types of situations. So I'm going to give you some great examples and some great titles for some of the closes that are available. Then I might just cover off a couple of different aspects, and we'll close off everything from that point of view. But this is what Panther says. You could close a sale at any point during the sales presentation, even immediately after the greeting. Be ever alert for buying signals and move in with an appropriate close as soon as you see or hear them. Unbelievable. Closing has been accurately described as developing within the prospect the desire to do business today and to enjoy the benefits of ownership immediately in spite of his or her tendency towards procrastination. Closing sale determines your ability as a salesperson, but you won't close many sales if the preceding steps are not handled well. So, you've got to set everything up properly, that approach, that meet and greet. Do the right sort of thing, create that right contact. Then there's the qualification or exploring the customer's needs, right, and getting into detail about it. Then, if you're in that position where you're talking about the demonstration or the art of the demo, well, I can say you're well on the way to making a sale. And remember, everybody, if a customer's in your store today, as in modern day today, and we're not having this retrospective discussion right this second, if they're in there, they're ready to buy. They are ready to buy, because nobody's going to waste their time driving to a showroom just to kick tyres. They're ready to buy. And if you don't sell to them, it means that something's gone wrong somewhere. You've stuffed it up. Because I can tell you, if people are researching online, 83% of them, and they're ready to go, and they just need ratification by going to your shop and going through that showrooming process, where they touch and feel things, and they want some positive social engagement, there's no reason that they shouldn't be buying. And remember, the mobile phone in their hand is like an encyclopedia of product knowledge and information, so they're more informed than they've ever been. But I've got to say, if they're in your shop today, they're ready to go. Don't ignore them. Please approach them properly. Please qualify them. Please take them through the demonstration process. Please understand their objections if they come up. Because if they're 83% of the way there, why the hell would they object? Something's gone wrong in the process. So, this is where closing the sale is important. Because if they're 85% or 83% ready to go, and they come into your shop, this closing the sale should be a very, very easy process. So you've got to be able to, closing a sale is both an art and a science. So here are some of the closing techniques that David Panther really covered off. And he was a great showman. He was I think he was a great asset to the business because, whenever he gave a sales training session, you definitely for the next 3 weeks get an uplift in sales performance across the group. So I think he was probably a very, very hard-working individual. He's a bit of a exciting little fellow as well after work. But anyway, he talked about all these different types of closes, power closes, all sorts of things. But here's one. There's one called the assumptive close, where the salesperson uses his or her mannerisms or choice of words to convey the feeling that the prospect's mind's already made up. So what does that look like? Well, when I turn the page of the book, it says, this piano is going to blend in magnificently with your furnishings, isn't it? You would agree, Sino, that this video is going to give you hours and hours of pleasure, wouldn't you? I'll just make out the docket. What's the correct address for delivery, please, Mr. Sino? So, an assumptive close, a minor point close. In this case, the question of purchase itself is not raised, but rather some minor point relative to the purchase. Right? This gives you an indication. These are triggers and leads, right? There's another word for it in more modern day. Are there any stairs at your place that I should tell our delivery man about? Oh, no, there aren't. Yes, you can go straight through the front door. Fantastic. Would you like me to include some extra speaker wire in the box for your speakers? Another one. Regardless of which way the prospect answers in a minor point close, the sale's really made. Then there's the alternate close, which is all about offering a choice of alternatives to the prospect, whichever alternative is chosen doesn't matter, the sale's made. And you've got to be careful because you've got to sell the customer something that they want, not something that you think they want. So a great example of an alternative close is, will you be taking this on our easy ownership plan or paying in some other way? Would you prefer the teak finish or the walnut? Obviously selling a Steinway piano at that point in time. Which delivery day would suit you best? Was it Thursday or Friday? Great little close, the alternative close. Here's another great one, the inducement or special sale opportunity close. This provides an incentive for the prospect to buy now, a special price, bonus giveaways, etc. The incentive must be genuine and not ongoing for this close to work. Here's an example. Obviously, Sino, you're a person who likes to get the maximum value for your dollar, and your purchase of a piano would be no different, would it? So, today I'm able to offer you a special deal. Would you prefer to take advantage of that and save $1,000? How does that sound? So, the prospect in that case will tend to say yes automatically, and they're essentially closed. There's the direct close, which is, if you're short on time, really go for it. And it's a direct questions asked as to whether the prospect will buy or not. Many salespeople still prefer this close over others because it really denotes whether you're wasting your time or not. And it's difficult for a prospect to say no to that, to be honest, because I think they're sort of ready to go. They just need to be pushed a little bit. So here's a classic line. Do we have a sale? Is this the one you want? You've decided on this one then, right? So, interesting. The few things depend on that direct sale though, that direct close, things like, I guess, price. You've solved that objection in terms of price and the value and the features and benefits. The summary close is usually used if the sales presentation has gone the full distance or the prospect wants to think about it. The salesperson summarizes the benefits to the prospect. This is where you do that great physical attribute of, using your fingers on one hand, pointing with your index finger to, starting with your small finger, working up to your thumb on your right hand with your left hand index finger. Mr. Prospect, we agree, don't we, that this model offers the family usability that you're after? Yes. And it certainly is the colour you wanted, isn't it? Yes. We don't have to worry about the service question that was so important to you, do we? As you're slowly going through the physical exercise of saying each one of those objections you've overcome using your finger, then it restates and takes the attention off your face with the customer and redirects them to your hand as almost like a sales tool. So the customer psychologically doesn't feel they're having a confrontation with you face to face. Fear or impending event close. Did I explain to you that this is an extremely popular model? And if I were in your shoes and I knew what I do know today, I wouldn't hesitate to pick it up today because, this could be the last one that has the bonus pack with it. Something like that. Then there's the balance sheet close, where you really it's all about pros and cons, what to buy, why not to buy. There's the model choice close, which is really, this is used when a prospect can't decide between 2 or 3 models. It helps the prospect to make the decision. Which of the 3 do you like the least? Of the other 2, which one do you lean more toward? That's a classic one. It's a bit like, magicians turn around and say, okay, pick a card, any card, but hang on, do you prefer a number card or a face card? Face card, all right, let me get rid of all the number cards. Do you like the red side of the pack or the black side of the pack? All right, hearts and diamonds versus spades and clubs, no problems, let me get rid of that. So, you can see how that model choice close sort of comes together. Order bank close, the salesperson sets about completing the documentation and asks the necessary questions. If the prospect answers all of them, then they've bought. Basically, if they haven't, really given you any objections. So really, you're just filling out the order form for them and getting them to sign. And last one, I think, is that the last one? Oh, here we go. The turnover close. The salesperson who cannot close a sale may involve another superior staff member. It's important that this is done. The original salesperson remains out of earshot, as the prospect objection may involve the salesperson. So you'd have seen in a lot of car yards, let me go to the sales manager, let me introduce the sales manager. That's all done to try and close the sale, to help close the sale. Well, that still happens today. Now, there's a great one that David Panther used to joke about. And he's a bit of an actor, but this is if all else fails sales. And he used to say that he'd go out the back of the warehouse and lick his finger and rub it in the corner of his eye so it looked as if he was crying, and he'd come out to the floor and say, look, I've got one of those products left in the box out the back for you, but just do me a favour. He used to call it the do me a favour close. And he says, look, I really need to make this sale to keep my job. Can you help me out? So it's a very, very desperate sort of activity. Anyway, you can hear from everything that there have been different closing strategies, from assumptive closes to the alternative close to the trial close, which is, all these different things that you need to use to close the customer out. And I guess if you think about who is really, really good at this, there's a guy called Grant Cardone. He was known for his really aggressive, no-nonsense approach to closing sales. He really emphasised the importance of persistence and never walking away without pushing for the sale. He had a really good book called The Closer Survival Guide, and it's just chock-a-block full of different closing techniques that can be applied in different situations. So I guess the key lesson here is that when it comes to closing, you've got to be assertive, recognise buying signals or look for those triggers and listen carefully, and use a variety of closing techniques that really fit the moment. I spent a lot of time talking about this because I guess in this day and age where a lot of people just say, yeah, I want it, I'll get it online, when they're physically in a store, there are still sometimes objections that are brought up at the last minute, and being able to handle those objections with some great, recapping exercise that I've mentioned before, and then moving into the close means that you've got a higher chance of getting the sale on the day without them going back home and then going on the internet and buying it. That's usually related to price and product knowledge. Anyway, closing the deal and mastering everything with confidence is really, really important. And I guess just to wrap things up, and here's my last message about this. Closing is probably the most critical part of the sale, and if you see young salespeople, it's probably the area where they freeze the most. It's a bit of a confidence thing. It's about pressure, and if they don't recognise when the right moment is to guide a customer towards the right decision, they could lose the sale completely. So remember, customers can often hesitate at the last step, not because they don't want to buy, but because they need some sort of reassurance, right? So your job as a salesperson is to always eliminate doubt and make it easy for them to say yes. So classic technique is the assumptive close. So would you like this in blue or red? You know, great thing in the matrix. The red pill does this, the blue pill does that. It's an assumptive close. By asking that question, pardon me, it assumes the sale, and you've helped the customer take the next step without overwhelming them, right? Without scaring them. And I guess the last tip I'd give you is really recognize those buying signals. Questions about price, delivery, customization. I mean, the customer is really close to buying. Offer small and I guess what I'll call confident nudges towards the decision, like saying things like, shall I go ahead and set this up for you? You know, in terms of putting the sale in the system. All those sorts of things help you close the sale. Because remember, closing sales means commission, means business making money. And I'm talking about profitable sales, which we'll get to in the next podcast. But just think about your approach when it comes to closing sales. Now, like I said, these podcasts are rough and ready, but if you have a really good listen, I think you could start to investigate this further for yourself. So, in the meantime, I'll speak to you next time. Next time I'm going to talk about value-added sales, which is really, really critical and lost art. Almost as important as closing the sale, if not more important. And look, if you like this, please subscribe and tell your friends about it. And thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.